Jacques Doucet, the sports director from WAFB 9, joining us live. Good morning, Jacques. How are you?
Good morning. I was eavesdropping on your conversation during the commercial break, talking about White Lotus.
Yes.
I'm on board as well. I've been watching all these psychotic families going off to paradises through 3 seasons.
It's unbelievable. The writing.
Oh, honey,
is
she's going to North
unbelievable.
Carolina.
You do everything right. You're so perfect. You're a great dad. You know, I kind of wonder if she's in on it. I kind of wonder if she knows that she's like really kind of almost taunting him, that she knows that he's, you know, his whole world is falling apart back in America.
A lot of people think that she has an idea and she's already set her money aside, so she's going to be comfortable when everything kind of blows up. She's like a genius.
Thought of that.
Yeah.
I just take a lorazepam, baby. You'll be fine. And sure as shit, he does.
Yeah, he starts popping them like crazy.
But unbelievable show.
Well, I guess it makes sense that the son of Arnold Schwarzenegger is always walking around with his shirt off, and it's got, you know, he's one of the jacked up dudes on the show, and then all the good characters on this show, bad things happen to them. Is it Belinda? She was the one that was trying to get the sauna, her personal sauna done with our girl Culotta, who fell off the boat and hit her head, and then the poor guy that's the pretty girl Mook, the
security guard,
security guy. Is it, what's his name? Gaytok or something?
Yep.
Yeah. He's such a great guy, but he's like a Charlie Brown character. You know, he just keeps tripping over.
He keeps getting the football pulled away from him.
Gonna leave this gun out front on the deck. And,
Just got it.
Ask for it back once and then never again. Just I tried.
Yeah. Oh well.
But LSU spring practice obviously well underway the last week and a half. What have you seen from the start of LSU spring football?
Well, we're seeing things from a different angle, right? We're on the second balcony of the Players Lounge, which is good in some regards. You're high up above. I guess you can get in television more artistic shots and whatnot, but we can walk down on the field as well. You know, to me, if you put a gun to my head right now, it feels like this team has the potential to be Brian Kelly's best team of the 4, I would think. I don't know if there's a Heisman Trophy winner like a Jaden Daniels or, you know, players like Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas, but I do think that they're going to score some points. That's just what it feels like, that the wide receiving room and the guys they picked up in the transfer portal, Barry and Brown, it was really good to talk to him yesterday. He's a guy that did some really good things at Kentucky, in which they struggled really offensively. So to put him in this system, got a chance to score a lot more points. And just talking to Garrett Nussmeier, you know, I just think that he'll be better than he was a season ago. We have seen the transformation, or we've seen the big jump between quarterbacks at LSU from their first year to their second year, whether we're talking about, talking about Joe Burrow, we're talking about Jaden Daniels. And so I think that last year with Nussmeier, he had a very solid year, but Nussmeier, like a lot of LSU guys on that team during that 3-game losing streak in the middle of the year, made some mistakes and didn't play up to the best of his ability. So good to see Caden Durham out there healthy again at running back. You know, as a freshman, was your leading rusher as a true freshman. Coach Kelly talked about Caleb Jackson, how he's been too big, maybe. Just a lot of times we see a guy and we say, oh, man, he's bulked up, he's big, he's just going to run over dudes, and maybe he needs to get his weight down a little bit. I mean, it reminds me of Leonard Fournette. When Leonard was here, it was always his weight. He was a little too heavy, and so we'll see about that. And Harlem Berry out there as well. On the defensive side of the ball, you know, DJ Pickett walked in front of me the other day in the hallway, and this guy is very tall, and it feels like his arms, you know, would go from where I'm sitting right to here to across the river into Port Allen. I mean, he's just this rangy guy, and so I think he's gained some weight. From what I hear, he's up to 191 or so. So he was very, very thin, and so he's getting bigger. And I like this man, Sir Delane, that we talked to yesterday, corner from Virginia Tech. I think that's a seasoned guy that brings you immediate experience at the position. All of these defensive backs have brought up Corey Raymond as a big reason why they've come to LSU. You look at his track record and the guys he's sent to the NFL. I mean, that's what these guys want to do. They want to go to the league and they want to get paid. And certainly, Mansard Delane referenced, how would you like to be Derek Stingley? How would you like to be 23 years old and sign a contract, $89 million guaranteed? I thought Olivia Dunn was living good at 22 or whatever she is. Derek Stingley Jr., man, made for life after signing his deal. So these younger guys see those contracts and they see stuff like that, and that's where they want to be. So, just my general take on it right now, they kind of feel like they could be a team that's 10-2 and make the playoff. But obviously there's a long way to go. There's guys that haven't even joined the team yet. Obviously there's some freshmen that haven't made it to LSU yet. The offensive line from Northwestern, I think he's coming in. He's got to graduate from school up there and do some things before he comes in. But I think they did a good job in the portal of getting 2 offensive linemen. I think are going to start. Really impressed with this. Is it Jack Pryborn, the guy they got from Florida?
Jack Pryborn.
Pyborn, excuse me. This guy looks like he's an Avenger or something. I mean, everyone made comments about this dude's, his neck and he looked like a 40-year-old man talking to him yesterday, and a really good interview. And, and you still just have to watch out on the computer for this AI stuff. Like, before I went to bed yesterday, I glanced at Twitter and somebody had done a fake with him where he said something like, well, Florida was broke, so they couldn't pay for me, so I came to LSU. And and it just looked real. I'm like, I was at that interview. Did he say that? Was I daydreaming? So you got to watch out for that AI stuff. But he was really impressive yesterday. I liked we talked to Bauer Sharp yesterday, who played 3 years at Southeastern in Hammond, and now is at LSU, played a year at Oklahoma last year, and he grew up in Dothan, Alabama. And it was funny. He said, I didn't like LSU. Well, I asked him, I said, what was your view of LSU growing up in Dothan, Alabama? And he stuttered for a bit and said, I'd rather not say, sir. And so it's funny. All his family's like from the Tuscaloosa area and Alabama fans, and now he's wearing purple and gold. I guess it was similar to the punter that LSU had. Was it Jay Bramlett? He grew up in Tuscaloosa as well. But I enjoyed talking to him. I thought the 4 guys they brought yesterday, they were all transfers out of the portal. I thought they were all really good interviews and really good. It seemed like guys you'd want to have on the team. So that's just a little my little take on it. I guess the spring scrimmage will be April 12th. I really don't care if they do a game or not. I think it's good to have something for the fans in the spring, just to come out and see the team, see them put the uniform on and do something. And they're going to have an autograph session apparently after the game. When we were growing up, they had this thing called Fan Day that went away. They used to do in August. And, in today's NIL world and just fandom and, security and safety, I think it's harder to do stuff like that. I remember they would do Fan Day and it was like, okay, come get your favorite LSU player's autograph for an hour. And then, the line to get a Leonard Fournette or whoever was so long, you might get one autograph and the thing was over. So, but they're going to implement that on April the 12th as well. So, like I said, I was going to wrap up here in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever the case may be. But, I've been – it's early. You got to get up if you want to go cover – they're open these gates at 7:45 in the morning. So, early bird gets the worm for sure.
Yes, and it's been a while since we've talked to you. Obviously, LSU made the move to hire Kyle Williams, former Tiger, as their new defensive line coach. So now that's been official, and you've seen him out on the practice field. What's been your take on that move by the Tigers?
Well, the one thing that people will say who knock the hire will be like, this guy's got no experience. And look, players who aren't good, they get a lot of coaching experience earlier, because – Kyle Williams is a great player. He's been a player. That's what he did for 13 years. Made the Pro Bowl 6 times. Arguably, top 2 or 3 LSU defensive linemen in the last 20 years. I think Daniil Hunter may have risen to the top in terms of most productive guys in the pros out of LSU, which is crazy. I think he had 4.5 sacks at LSU total or something like that. And he's one of the most dominant pass rushers in the league. But Kyle, I'm old. I've been here a long time. I covered Kyle as a player, certainly, and he was a major part of LSU's 2003 national championship team in the trenches there. He was a big part of Les Miles' first team in 2005. One of the famous stories of Kyle Williams is they went to Alabama. Obviously, this is before Nick Saban got there, but it was a huge game in 2005. Both teams were ranked in the top 5, undefeated, and the game went to overtime. And I think Jamarcus Russell hit Dwayne Bowe for the game-winning touchdown in overtime. But at halftime, I think LSU was losing 10-0 or something, and Kyle gave this famous, impassioned speech and fired up the team, and they went on a rally. And so, I've kept in touch with Kyle over the years. I've done interviews with him over the years, and I just watching practice, it seems like he brings a lot of intensity. Does he have the experience of a Bo Davis, who's very, very seasoned and who played at LSU, I guess, about a decade before Kyle did or more? No. But the only way to get experience is to get an opportunity. And so he's got that opportunity. And I think the players respect the guy that's made it to the league, just like they respect Corey Raymond coaching defensive backs. This guy can get me to the league. I think they respect a guy like Kyle Williams, who's been there, done that. So I like the fire. I like what he's bringing to the table. I'm sure I've just kind of watched him interact with Blake Baker and Kevin Peoples and some of the other guys. They seem to be fitting like a glove so far and getting along. So I'm rooting for Kyle. He's also a scratch golfer, and I think, people know Brian Kelly likes to play a little golf, so those two might be on the course a little bit this summer. Apparently Kyle can hit it a mile, and Kelly joked that his short game is amazing, chipping and putting. So there you go. So, yeah, rooting for him, and really good friends with Andrew Whitworth. They were both from that Monroe area. I remember doing an interview with Kyle a couple of years ago when he was, coaching at Ruston, and just talking about being an LSU Tiger, right? Like I said, well, what's camp like? And he's like, man, we used to be in that old Broussard Hall, and no matter what, I'd hit that thermostat, and it was always stuck on 86 degrees no matter what, And at night I can't sleep, and I'm sweating, and then you're doing 2-a-days, and you're like, I am so over this. And then you're like, well, you know what? This was your dream. This is what you wanted to do, And so I think even in the NIL era, when people think a lot of these guys are coddled and get exactly what they want, and they're pretty well taken care of in terms of their education, their food, and a lot of other things. The bottom line is they still have to go through the grind of the strength and the conditioning and the endless meetings and practices and games and devote a very big chunk of their life to do it. And Kyle sums that up pretty well.
Yeah, another move for LSU, Jawan Johnson, obviously somebody that was a very decorated and impressive quarterback in high school, comes to LSU to play DB, gets moved to running back. Now he's back at quarterback for the Tigers. What were your thoughts on that move?
I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts on that. I don't think it's going to be a storyline in 2025.
Right. If it is, we're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, he's a great athlete and everything. I remember being on the sideline before one of the games started this year, talking to some of his coaches, and I think they were his high school coaches, and they were kind of perplexed with the move him to running back. So I think I guess this is more of a fit for him. Let's see, who did LSU didn't sign a quarterback. Did they sign a quarterback in the class?
No.
A freshman? They don't have a freshman coming in that plays the position, do they?
They did not.
At quarterback? I've been watching Michael Van Buren at Mississippi State. I think he throws a pretty good ball, and I think he's a real nice, backup option to have, a guy who's already played some ball and whatnot. Where did our guy from Vanderbilt go? Where did he transfer to? Last year's backup.
Eastern Michigan, something like that.
Okay. But no, I mean, it's fine. I mean, I'll be interested to see when they put him out there. And I think when they're doing those drills in the beginning, like a practice where they do that 2-minute drill where they line up and they go against air, I'm not even sure if they got enough guys out there to fill out the third team. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, I mean, look, he's a young player, got a lot of talent, was obviously very good at Lafayette Christian, which was coached by Trev Falk for a long period of time. I think they won like 4 state titles in a row over one stretch. I think towards the end of Trev Falk's run there, they only made it to the state championship game and didn't win, but that's a powerful program out there. It's crazy. I grew up in Lafayette. Apparently that school's been there forever. And then it's just like all of a sudden it just started bubbling up state champions and playing football and stuff. I didn't know this place was even there, But they've made big investments over the last decade or so at that school.
A.J. Swan now at Appalachian State, not near.
A.J. Swan. It's been a great storyline for AJ to get in against Vanderbilt this year in Nashville. Go up against his old team. But
I'm sure they have a scouting report or two. But when we talk transfer portal and the addition of these guys that LSU was brought in, we were talking about it earlier. It feels like the personality of the guys, whether it be a Barrion Brown, like you talked about, Jack Pyburn, it feels like they almost already fit in with LSU without ever having been here. Like, have you noticed any of that where you see it's like some of their leadership qualities that are coming through in some of the videos that are being put out, which I think it's a far cry from what you've had from previous transfers coming to LSU or guys that you got out the portal. And it shows that they invested more maybe in like obviously the skill set, but the personality type as well.
Yeah, Lloyd, I think in 2022, when they were really kind of up a creek with the roster and really patching that thing together and somehow made it to the SEC championship game, I think they hit really a lot on the guys they brought in terms of they could play to an extent and that they were, pretty good personalities. And then I think the following year, in particular on the defensive side of the ball, whether it was a Denver Harris or a Deuce Chestnut or some of those guys, the character part just did not work out. And what's that?
Like a swing and a miss almost.
Yeah. I mean, they just didn't. Both of those guys were problems and really hurt LSU on that side of the ball because obviously the defense was horrific and just didn't do well there when it turns to identifying guys. So I think I've talked to different coaches, over the years, or should I say in recent memory, and talking about, identifying guys in the portal. And sometimes, not just looking at, stats on paper and saying, okay, this is a good addition because, and it's tough on the coaches too. I mean, they have a very short period of time. I mean, there's a good chance they've recruited some of these guys and got to know them in the recruiting process, but at the same time, maybe they don't know much about the kid, and they've got a short window to say, okay, do we want this guy or not? Are we going to bring him aboard or not? And then, obviously, in today's college football climate, are we going to invest money into this person or not and bring them aboard? And so, I agree. It feels like, just from sitting down and interviewing some of these guys so far and what we've seen, they seem to be people that were brought up right, that have good attitudes, that are, know what the standard is at LSU, know what the expectation is at LSU. Nussmeier has made it clear in his interview that they expect to be playing football in January, is what he said. We all know that Brian Kelly, after I think it was the Oklahoma game, made we're keeping receipts and we'll see you at the championship. I'm still not sure why he said that or why he would do that. But, I think that the less said about that, the better. But, just do your best. But anyway, they've made it clear. And I think that this is a very pivotal year. Now, from the get-go, I've always wondered how much pressure is on Brian Kelly when you have a 10-year contract that's 90% guaranteed and you're going to get $90 million pretty much no matter what. How much pressure is on him to, hey, you better win this year and what? But I think that things are set up this year once again to make a playoff, and I think you need to make a playoff this year. I think that's what we were saying last year. It didn't happen, but you can't go 8-4 again and be playing in a Liberty Bowl or a Gator Bowl or something like that. You got to make a playoff, and it's early but it feels like that they've got good leadership on this team. I like Nussmeier's potential. I think it's real cool. His dad's going to be coaching an hour down the road. We had a chance to go meet the Saints staff about a week or two ago, and I talked to Doug Nussmeier and talked to him about Garrett. And it's interesting, he said, I never pushed football on Garrett. I never wanted to choose his passion. I wanted him just to find a passion, and his football is his passion. I told his dad I often go to church at Christ the King or St. Jude, and I see Garrett every weekend. And he said, "You better." And so, so he comes from good people, good God-fearing people, and put the right things in perspective. I think I was talking to Bob Starkey the other day, LSU women's basketball coach, and he said, we like athletes who have parents who were coaches, because that means they're not like some other parents where the coach is always stupid. The coach doesn't know what they're saying. They have a much different perspective on things. And I think Garrett's been brought up that way. And I think Christian Lockitcher told me one time, and I think this is true. He said, if I ever got in trouble, I'd be much more worried about my parents than my coach. And those are the kind of kids you want to bring on board, that if they ever had a misstep, they'd be petrified of their parents more than they would the coach. So, we'll see. The 2019 national championship team, I always brought it up. There were so many, I got to know so many of the parents on that team, and you could tell that the character came from the parents. Clyde Edwards-Helaire and his family, Patrick Queen and his family, Burrow and his family, Jamar Chase and his parents. I mean, so many of them I got to know, and it just all seemed like, they were good people who brought up good kids. And as I continue to ramble, I don't know if there'll ever be a 2019 team again in college football. It seems impossible in today's modern time when you look at the contracts that these guys have signed in the NFL, the gobs of money that they're making. How would you ever have those kind of guys on a roster again and be able to pay them all and support them in the NIL thing? So I got a friend of mine who we always talk and we say that 2019 team felt like the end of something. Like it felt like this was the last of this or the last of that. And at first it felt, because COVID shut everything down after that and changed everything forever. But to me, it maybe feels like that was the last team of its kind before all these changes in college football.
Right. Yeah, no, we appreciate it this morning. What do you have going on over there at WAFB? What's coming up in the coming months?
Well, I would say, March is the busiest time of the year. It is crazy. And, Kevin Baptiste and John Eads and myself have been working a lot of hours, and we can kind of see to an extent the light at the end of the tunnel here by the beginning of April, mid-April. It kind of becomes bat and ball season for the most part, and all your March Madness is done. But state championships for high school basketball just wrapped up in Lake Charles with the boys. We only had one state champion locally in the boys side. That was Zachary, who beat Central head-to-head. But we've got late night with LSU women's basketball coming up. I don't think I've ever seen at the PMAC a 9:15 tip-off for a men's or women's basketball game. That's got to be a first. Somebody said way back in 1986, rest in peace, Gene Hackman. That was the year Hoosiers came out. LSU, I think, played Purdue when they used to be able to host NCAA games in the men, and somebody said that was a late game. But so we got that coming up. John Eads been doing an outstanding job covering LSU baseball, and will continue to do that. They're on the road this week. A lot of people out of town this week. LSU baseball out of town. Beth Torina and the softball team going to Georgia, who's in the top 15. The two bat and ball teams, so to speak, LSU baseball and softball, are they 48-2 combined so far? Those two teams. And look, they're both getting to the meat of their schedule, and that all that stuff's coming up. It's going to get tougher. But the Southern women are in the NCAA tournament tonight. We've got just a lot of stuff going on. Spring football will continue. So WAFB.com, our YouTube page. I just did a nice sit down with Josh Pearson, 4-year guy on the LSU baseball team who made perhaps the greatest catch in LSU history. Him or Ray Wright, right? Against Florida in the game 1 of the national championship series. Jay Johnson said if he doesn't make that catch and we lose game 1, there's no way we're winning game 2 and we're not the national champions. So that catch was amazing. After the game, you talk to Josh and, just the ball scorched off the bat. LSU fans biting their fingernails. You talk to Josh, it's like, well, it was a fly ball. We practiced it and I made the catch. He just got that, heartbeat never goes over 50 type thing. Postseason Pearson, right? So anyway, those are a few things we got going on. We're very busy, and thanks for having me on. By the way, we've got a Red Rock and Blue concert Saturday night at the Texas Club. Def Legend, Poison Ivy, and Osmosis. Tickets available. Tickets starting to move. And we'll have the TVs on for the women's basketball game as well. So come see us at the Texas Club with all proceeds going to Louisiana Military Charities Saturday night. Red Rock and Blue spring kickoff concert.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jacques, this morning for joining us. It was good to see your face, and have best of luck in everything else going on this month, making it through March.
All right, I'll put you and Lloyd on a group text Sunday night after the next episode of White Lotus airs, and we can discuss what is the next awkward scene that takes place.
Perfect. Yeah, because I'm sure it's going to be something impressive.
We didn't even talk about the real awkward one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was
it was something
what
else.
was that all about? Somebody said Rick is the character, right? Rick's the
yes.
Kind of looks like Jack Nicholson. His face.
Yeah.
Listen to that story. Somebody said
My
Rick
face
is
was
all
doing.
of us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was me that see the dynamics between those two brothers early in the episode.
Yes.
First, what is going on here? Is somebody a stepbrother? Are they not? Why? Anyway,
Yep.
So it's hard in today's pop culture climate with a million things to watch to get a lot of people's attention with one show, but apparently White Lotus is doing that. I started to watch Breaking Bad again. I'd watched it for the first time like 4 years ago, and I said, well, I'm going to watch it again to see what I missed the first time around. So, Breaking Bad, I think, is probably the best TV show I've ever watched in terms of, oh my God, what happens next? So great writing there. Vince Gilligan, doesn't he? So, all right, guys. Well, I enjoyed it. We'll talk soon. Thanks.